The Story of Jack and the Beanstalk by various authors. There was once a poor widow who had no money and very little food. She had a son, Jack, who was a lazy, idle fellow. One morning she said to Jack, "There's only one thing for it, my boy. You'll have to take our old cow Bessie to the market and sell her for whatever you can get. Otherwise you and I will have no food." Jack didn't want to go to the market. He was a lazy fellow, but he reluctantly put a rope round Bessie's neck and started walking towards the market. He hadn't gone very far when he met a man who said to him, "That's a fine cow you have there, young man. Where are you taking her to?" And Jack said, "I'm taking her to the market to sell her for whatever I can get, so Mother and I can have some money so we can buy something to eat." "I'll tell you what I'll do," said the man. "I'll give you 5 beans for her." Well, Jack didn't know much about buying or selling cows, so he took the 5 beans and went home. And his mother said, "You're home very early. Well, how much did you get for Bessie?" And Jack said, "Well," he said, "I met this man and he gave me 5 beans for her." And his mother said, "5 beans, you useless, good for nothing. What am I supposed to do with these 5 beans?" And she snatched the beans off Jack and threw them out of the window. Well, poor Jack didn't know what to do, so he thought the best thing he could do would be to go to his bedroom. A little while later, his mother went to her bedroom as well. They were both tired and very hungry. Next morning, Jack woke up and looked out of his window. And what do you think he saw? He saw an enormous beanstalk had grown where the beans had landed. And he walked down the garden and he looked up at his beanstalk, and it was higher than any tree or beanstalk he'd ever seen in his life. He craned his neck and he couldn't see the end of it. As his mother was just coming down the garden to look at this as well, he said to his mother, "I'm going to have to go up the top and see what's up there." Before his mother could stop him or tell him to put on his hat and coat, Jack started climbing, and he climbed and he climbed and he climbed up this huge beanstalk. So eventually he came to a land he'd never been in before. And as he stepped off the beanstalk and started walking along, he came to a castle. And he knocked on the door. The door opened, and this very large woman stood there. "Yes," she said. "Good morning, Mum," said Jack. "Would you be good enough to give me something to eat and drink? I've come a long way and I'm very hungry." "Oh, you don't want to come in here," said the woman. "My husband is a giant and he'll be home soon. And do you know what he does to boys? Do you know what he did to the last boy that came here?" And Jack said, "Well, that may be so, Mum, but if you don't give me something to eat and drink, I shall faint here." Well, the giant's wife wasn't a bad sort, so she took him in and sat him down at the table and gave him a good plateful of eggs and bacon and toast and mushrooms and fried tomatoes and a big cup of tea. And then I heard heavy footsteps coming in. "Oh, my goodness me," said the woman. "That's my husband. Quick, you better hide behind this chair." Well, Jack hid behind the chair, and in came the giant, stamping his big feet. And he sniffed in the air and he said to his wife, "There's someone here. I can smell there's an Englishman here." "Nonsense, dear, nonsense," said his wife. "There's no Englishman here. You're imagining things. You know the one you are for imagining things." And the giant had a good look round and he said to his wife, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he live or be he dead, I'll have his bones to make my bread." "Nonsense, dear, nonsense," said his wife. "Now you sit down in this chair, dear, while I make you a nice hot breakfast." The giant sat down in the chair, and Jack was still hidden way behind the big armchair. And the big plate was set before the giant, a bigger plateful than Jack had ever seen in his life. And the giant ate and he ate and he ate and drank enormous cups of tea. Finally he said to his wife, "Well, I'm just going to go and sit in my armchair now and have a snooze." He went and sat in his armchair, put back his head and started to snore. Jack peeked out and he could see the giant fast asleep. He thought, "Now's my chance, I can go now." But before he went, he saw big bags of gold in the corner. He thought, "Well, he won't miss one." So he picked up a big bag of gold and put it on his shoulder, and he started running as fast as he could back to the beanstalk. And he climbed down and down and down and down and down until he was eventually back in his own back garden. His mother was standing there waiting for him. "Oh, Jack," she said. "Oh, Jack, my boy, where have you been? I've been so worried about you." "It's all right, Mother," said Jack. "I'm home now. And look at this big bag of gold I took out of a giant's castle." Well, with the big bag of gold, Jack and his mother were able to live very comfortably for some time. Then one morning, Jack said to his mother, "It's no good, Mother. I've got to climb up that beanstalk again." Before his mother could stop him or tell him to put on his hat and coat, he started to climb up and up and up the beanstalk, higher and higher and higher, until he was eventually back in that strange land again. And once more he walked and he walked until he came to the castle and knocked on the door. The door opened and the giant's wife stood before him. "Yes," she said. "Good morning, Mum," said Jack, as bold as brass. "Would you be good enough to give me something to eat and drink? I've come a long way and I'm very hungry." "Oh, you don't want to come in here," said the woman. "My husband will be home soon and he's a giant. Oh, and do you know what he does to boys? You know what he did to the last boy that came here?" Well, before she could tell him what happened to the last boy that came there, Jack said, "That may be so, Mum, but I'm so hungry I can't speak till I've had something to eat and drink. You can tell me about it afterwards." Well, the giant's wife wasn't a bad sort, so she took him in and sat him down at a chair, and a big plateful was put before Jack once more. A big plateful of eggs and bacon and toast and mushrooms and tomatoes and a big cup of tea. And then they heard the footsteps coming in. "Oh, my goodness me," said the woman. "It's my husband. Quick, you better hide behind the chair." Well, Jack hid behind the chair, and in came the giant, and he stamped his big feet and sniffed the air, and he said, "There's an Englishman here, I can smell it." "Nonsense, dear, nonsense," said his wife. "What a one you are for imagining things. There's no Englishman here at all. There never has been." And the giant had a good look round, and he said, "I can smell there's been an Englishman here." And his wife said, "Nonsense, dear, nonsense. There's no Englishman here at all. Now you sit down in this chair, dear, and let me make you a nice hot breakfast." The giant said to his wife, "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he live or be he dead, I'll have his bones to make my bread." "Nonsense, dear," said his wife. The giant sat down in his chair at the table, still muttering about Englishmen, until a big plateful was put before him. And Jack peeped out, and the giant was an enormous plateful of breakfast he was eating, and big cups of tea he was drinking. Finally he said to his wife, "Bring me my golden hen, wife." This big golden hen was brought before the giant, and the giant said to the hen, "Lay." And a big golden egg was laid and appeared on the table. "Lay," said the giant, and once more a big golden egg appeared on the table. "Lay," said the giant. Once more a big golden egg appeared on the table. Then the giant sat back in his chair and shut his eyes, and Jack could hear him snoring. And Jack thought, "Now's my chance, I can escape now." The hen seemed to be asleep on the table as well, and Jack thought, "I could use him." So he picked up the hen and put it under his jumper, and he ran back to the beanstalk, and he climbed down as fast as he could, where his mother was still waiting for him in the back garden. Jack," she said, "where have you been? I've been ever so worried about you." "It's all right, Mother," said Jack. "I'm home now, and look what I've got." And he showed her the hen that he took from the giant's castle. "Watch this, Mother," he said, as he put the hen on the ground. "Lay," he said, and a big golden egg appeared. "Lay," he said, and a big golden egg appeared. Well, with the gold in the bag and the eggs from the hen, Jack and his mother were able to live at home very comfortably for a very long time. Till one morning, Jack said to his mother, "It's no good, Mother. I've got to climb up that beanstalk again." Before his mother could stop him or tell him to put on his hat and his coat, off he'd gone. And he climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed, till once more he was in that strange land. And once more he walked and walked until he came back to the big castle and knocked on the door. The door opened, and the giant's wife stood there. "Good morning, Mum," said Jack. "Would you be good enough to give me something to eat and drink? I've come a long way and I'm very hungry." "Oh, you don't want to come in here," said the giant's wife. "My husband will be home soon, and he doesn't like boys. Oh, do you know what he did to the last boy that came here?" Well, before she could tell him what happened to the last boy that came here, Jack said, "That may be so, Mum, but I'm so hungry. If you don't give me something to eat and drink, I shall drop down dead here on your doorstep." Well, the giant's wife felt sorry for him, So she took him in, and once more a big plateful was put before Jack. And Jack had a really good feast of eggs and bacon and toast and mushrooms and fried tomatoes and big cups of tea. Then they heard the footsteps coming in. "Oh, my goodness me," said the woman, "it's my husband. He's come home. Quick, hide behind the chair." And once more Jack hid behind the chair, and in came the giant, stamping his big feet. And he sniffed the air, and he looked round, and he said to his wife, "There's been an Englishman here somewhere. I can smell it. I can feel it in my bones. There's been an Englishman here." Nonsense, dear," said his wife. "You and your Englishman. You really are imagining Englishmen all the time. Now you sit down in this chair, dear. Let me make you a nice breakfast." And the giant had a good look round. And he said to his wife, "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he live or be he dead, I'll have his bones to make my bread." Nonsense, dear," said his wife. "Now you sit down in your chair, dear, and eat up your breakfast while it's hot." And a big plateful was put before the giant. And he ate, and he ate, and he ate, and he drank lots and lots of big cups of tea. Finally, he sat back in his chair and said to his wife, "Bring me my golden harp, wife." His beautiful harp was brought before him and put on the table. "Play," said the giant, and the loveliest of music you could ever hear filled the castle. The giant sat back in his chair. "Oh, that's lovely," he said, and he went to sleep, and Jack could hear him snoring. And he looked out and he said, "Now's my chance." He's just about to go when he picked up the golden harp and ran off with the golden harp. But the harp hadn't gone to sleep, and he cried out, "Master, master, I'm being stolen." And the giant woke up, and he came to the door, and he saw Jack running away with the golden harp. "I'll catch you," he shouted, "I'll catch you," and ran after Jack. Well, Jack got to the beanstalk, and he climbed down and down and down and down and down to in his back garden. And his mother was waiting for him. "Oh, Jack," she said, "where have you been? I've been so worried about you." Jack looked up the beanstalk and saw the giant appear, and he said to his mother, "Fetch me my axe from the shed, mother." His mother fetched him his axe, and Jack began chopping at that beanstalk with all his might, until finally the beanstalk fell down with a mighty crash, and the giant fell down with the beanstalk. And that was the end of the giant. He never got up again. Well, with the golden harp and the golden eggs from the hen and the gold in the bag, Jack and his mother lived very happily ever after.